back to the subject of reaction. The degree of your faith, your real working faith, not your memorized faith, is shown by your reaction. Now watch what happens the moment a climate headline drops into your feed. Does the breath shorten? Does the finger begin that nervous pilgrimage called doom scrolling? Does a private court assemble in the mind to condemn them, whoever they are today? And then, when the storm of judgment is over, does the tidal wave of guilt arrive because you didn't compost perfectly, didn't donate enough, didn't fix the whole earth before breakfast? Do you see that? That is your measure. Not your sentiments about loving creation, your reaction. We are not here to make you right and somebody else wrong, nor to persuade you that appearances are unimportant. We are here to bring you to the middle path where you neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge. Righteous judgment is not poetry. It is instruction. When the charts go red and the words are heavy, catastrophe, irreversible, last chance, our temptation is to bow to the headline as a power, to worship it by feeding it our fear, or to fight it humanly by outraging, campaigning in panic, and trying to control 15 futures by taking thought. And I say to you, gently but without compromise, the moment you react, you have testified to a God called appearance. You have announced a second power beside the one. That is our work today, to see this and refuse it. Now, you ask, should we not care? Oh, yes, but learn the difference. To care is not to panic. To act is not to react. To be responsible is not to pick up the entire globe on your back like Atlas and then resent the weight. When you feel the compulsion to fix everything today, recognize the driver. It is not the spirit that says, be still and know that I am God. It is the universal impulse of fear, wearing a virtue costume. All right? We see it, and we do not hate it, and we do not love it. We stand in the midst. The middle path is not a compromise. It is a consecration. It refuses denial on the one hand and worship of doom on the other. It looks at the storm, names it storm, and does not enter into the storm's mind. Take no thought for your life, the Master said. He did not say be careless. He said, take no thought. Do not try to save yourself or your planet by mental hammering, by anxious arithmetic, by pledges made in fear. You see, God is not mind, and so mind thinking about God or mind thinking about planets is not the secret. The measure is whether, in the presence of any report, consciousness remains poised, free of hate, free of adoration, free even of the proud thrill of catastrophe. That poise is faith in action. Let us be very practical. You will read the report. You will attend the meeting. You will separate your recyclables. But before and beneath it all, watch the inner weather. If you find the squall rising, anger at them, guilt at yourself, despair at the world, do not correct the world. Correct your worship. Withdraw the crown from appearance. This is not failure. It is fidelity. The appearance is what it is. It is not a God. That is the beginning of clean action. Our aim is simple and severe. To care for the world without being consumed by it. To serve without the smoke of panic in our garments. To let action proceed from a consciousness already grounded in peace. We are not going to fix appearances by reacting to them. We are going to stop bearing false witness to two powers. When the next headline arrives, and it will take it as your bell, it rings, and you measure. Is there the inward hush, the willingness to stand in the midst without fight or flight? Then you are on the middle path. And from that middle, action will be given you. Not frantic, not performative, but clean, because it is born where reaction has ceased. Now, the first temptation is simple to see. Fear the appearance. A number flashes on the screen. A graph climbs, and you feel the inward collapse, the paralysis that says, it is too late. I am too small. The world is too big. Do you see that? That is fear bowing. And the second temptation is subtler, but just as enslaving. Worship the appearance. Make the material scene the ultimate authority. Regard the news cycle as the voice of God. And let every headline set the terms of your faith. This is not reverence. This is idolatry. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. To fear an appearance is to kneel to it. To worship an appearance is to crown it. Both are the same surrender under different masks. Then there is a third, and this one feels like zeal, so it passes unchallenged in religious hearts. Hate the appearance. We think that if we despise the polluter, the politician, the neighbor who will not recycle, we are standing for righteousness. No. Hatred is just fear changing its clothes. It makes a scapegoat, it courts moral superiority, and it multiplies the very atmosphere of violence we say we want to heal. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you. If you hate, you have already entered the case humanly. You have joined a side. You have left principle for person and personality, and the middle path is lost. The middle path will not have it. The middle path is not denial. It is not doom. It is not contempt. It is a stance in which we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. We let the appearance be what it is, appearance, and we refuse to invest it with power. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is not optimism masking terror, nor is it pessimism in academic robes. It is recognition that the scene is never the source, that the report is never the law, and that there is only one power. When you stand there quiet, unhooked, unbowed, you are no longer bargaining with shadows. You are measuring reality by the presence, not the presence by the noise of the day. Now, love, let us straighten this. Love is not an emotional boil. Love is not agitation dressed up as virtue. Love does not need panic to be responsible. Perfect love casteth out fear. And so the love that casts fear out must be of a different kind than the love that feeds on fear. Spiritual love is awareness of God as the only life of this universe, the only law of its seasons, the only breath in every creature. From that awareness, you may plant a tree, you may draft a policy, you may teach a child to honor the earth, but you will not do it with clenched fists, and you will not do it to prove your goodness or to punish another's badness. Charity suffereth long and is kind. That patience, that quiet kindness is the sign that your care is clean. All right? How do you live between denial and doom? You refuse both ceremonies, the funeral and the festival that appearances demand. You see the report, and without haste, you say within yourself, this is an appearance. It is not a law. It is not a power. It is not a God. You do not argue with it. You do not flatter it. You do not fight with its personalities. You remember who by taking thought can add 1 cubit unto his stature. So you cease taking thought to enlarge or diminish the appearance, and you take your stand in principle. From there, action will be given you. You won't enter the case humanly, and you won't abandon your post. You will be steady. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Not overcome it by denial or by doom, but by refusing to bow to it or to battle it. The world is served best by those who are not its slaves, and you are free the moment you stop making an altar to what you behold, for then you begin to behold what is truly altar-worthy. Never enter the case humanly. That is the discipline. The case is the storm of headlines, the personalities hurling charges across a studio, the graph that climbs like a fever in your chest, the private arithmetic that calculates your goodness or your doom. The human impulse is to begin there, argue there, plead there, scold there, and then try to pray from within that gale. You see, the moment you begin your work inside the storm, you have already joined it. You have given it your consent. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Do you see that? The instant you enter the case humanly, you lose the middle path and become part of the reaction. Now, let us make something perfectly clear. Information is not your enemy. Data can inform a human step the way a compass informs a sailor, but it must not govern consciousness as law. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. A graph is an appearance measured by other appearances. A headline is a sentence arranged by other sentences. They can report, but they cannot legislate spirit. When you let the report legislate fear, you have bowed to a second power. You are worshiping an altar that cannot bless. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. You cannot serve God in the news cycle. Take the information you need, yes, but refuse its hypnosis. Hold it as one would hold a weather report. It may suggest a coat or an umbrella, but it cannot dictate the climate of your soul. Eco-anxiety becomes a case the moment you personalize it and then try to manage God from inside your panic. My children, my future, my guilt. Listen to the pronouns and you will hear the trap spring. Prayer ceases at that point. Bargaining begins. The mind drafts terms. If I do enough, feel enough, post enough, then perhaps the storm will spare me and mine. That is not prayer. That is fear reciting scripture. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, not against this politician nor that corporation, not even against your own past ignorance. We wrestle against principalities, the universal beliefs that parade as necessity. Identify it rightly, and you will stop hitting persons with your anxiety and start withdrawing the only thing error needs to survive, your reaction. So what do? When the surge hits, you pause. Do not sprint into explanations, threats, or vows. Acknowledge, right there, silently. This is an appearance, pressing for reaction. It has no law. It has no mandate. It has no mind to think itself into my sanctuary. There is only one power. Then, for a split second, yes, sometimes no more than that, be still. Nobody by taking thought can contact God. God isn't mind. Therefore, thinking harder will not save you. Let there be that imperceptible click, that inner hush where you are no longer trying to win an argument with the wind. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. In that standing still, you have left the case. In that standing still, you have returned to principle. You say, what about responsibility? It is not abandoned. It is purified. The phone rings. A committee wants your statement today. The feed screams a threshold has been crossed. You answer, thank you. I will be with you shortly. You put the device down. You go to the inner room, shut the door, and make contact. Be still and know that I am God. Out of that knowing, a step will emerge, perhaps a letter, perhaps a meeting, perhaps a soft correction to a child, perhaps the quiet of saying nothing at all today. The difference is the atmosphere. Action born in peace cleanses. Action born in panic contaminates even the good it attempts. Never argue with the headline. Never contend with the graph. Never wrestle with the personality. You cannot lift a shadow by wrestling it. You turn toward the light and the shadow dissolves. If you find yourself composing a furious paragraph in your mind, stop. Withdraw the case from your thought. Return to the middle where you neither fear, love, nor hate the appearance. And from that altitude let the one power announce your next hour. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. When your heart obeys that, your hands will know what to do, and what they do will carry no smoke of the storm. Now we come to this unavoidable point. No sides. In the old labor cases, I would say, you are not dealing with a good side and a bad side. Do not take sides. The moment you do, you have left principle for personality. All right? Bring it here. Activist and skeptic, consumer and corporation, city and rural. Do you see how swiftly the mind wants to choose a jersey and then fight to the last decimal? It feels righteous. It feels necessary. But it is not spiritual, and it is not effective. A house divided against itself cannot stand. The instant you divide your consciousness, you feed the very conflict that multiplies fear. You are not hired by a movement or by a market. You are engaged by spirit to stand as a transparency for principle. Not even the side that hires you. Not even the side you agree with, because principle is higher than personalities. If the one that engaged you wants to win a point at the expense of peace, if they require your outrage to fuel their victory, that is their business. Your business is to let God have its perfect work. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Peacemaker is not appeaser. Peacemaker is one who refuses to recognize two powers, and so brings forth an atmosphere in which wisdom, restraint, innovation, and cooperation can be born. Look at our modern altars. On one, we place the activist and we crown them. On another, we place the skeptic and we crucify them. Or we reverse it depending on our town or timeline. It is the same idolatry, you see. We make personalities into causes and then sacrifice our peace to keep them propped up. Put not your trust in princes, not in celebrities, not in executives, not in influencers, not in the politician who says exactly what your fear wants to hear tonight. Trust principle. There is only one power. When you stand there, you can meet a lobbyist without hatred and a protester without adoration. You will not fear, love, or hate the appearance. And because you will not, you will be free to hear the only voice that knows what is next. Now, the human mind says, but surely one side is closer to good. Perhaps in a given hour, there is more sanity or more compassion in one camp than another. But your work is not to become the chaplain of a camp. Your work is to witness the Christ as the only identity, yes, in the executive and in the engineer, in the farmer and in the student, in the regulator and in the driver of the coal truck. There is neither Jew nor Greek, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. If you cannot behold that, you will speak from separation, and separation breeds despair. If you can behold it, even for a split second in silence, you will bring something into the room no side can manufacture, the hush in which a new answer appears. Do you see what happens to your tone when you leave sides? your words slow, your questions open. You ask not, how do we defeat them? But what requires mercy here? What asks for courage? Where must patience ripen? Where does boldness now serve? In that atmosphere, the activist may discover restraint that persuades instead of provokes. The skeptic may uncover curiosity that softens instead of hardens. The corporation may yield to innovation free of greenwash. The rural neighbor may be met in dignity rather than condescension. The city planner may hear the land itself instead of only the model. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. That is not a social tactic. That is scripture telling you how to keep company with principle. Never desire to see one side or the other win. Desire to see spiritual activity revealed. If spiritual harmony can only be achieved by a policy's defeat today so that a deeper cooperation can emerge tomorrow, let's have it. If harmony requires that your favorite pundit lose the mic for a season, let's have it. Do you see the freedom? Your joy is not chained to their scoreboard. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Seek first the inner government. Let God establish the climate of your own heart. Then go to the meeting. Then write the brief. Then sit at the table where sides have sworn never to speak. You will not go in to win. You will go in to witness. And the moment you refuse sides and stand with principle, the fire loses its oxygen. Fear cannot multiply in the presence of one who will not feed it. And from that stillness, order begins quietly, lawfully, without the smoke of the storm. Now let us look behind the costumes, behind the headline, behind the argument, behind your very private tremor. There is a pressure, and this pressure is impersonal. This has nothing to do with you personally. It is not your special flaw, not your family's inheritance, not your city's mood. It is a universal belief wearing a new costume. One age calls it plague, another calls it famine, another calls it financial panic. Now it is ecological doom. The mask changes, the voice does not. It whispers, catastrophe is inevitable. Therefore, prove your goodness by being afraid. Prove your intelligence by despair. Prove your love by agitation. Do you see that? Fear demands worship, and it asks you to call the worship care. That is not care. That is hypnosis. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The world's pattern is always the same. A suggestion of necessity is presented, then it appoints itself as law. If you are quiet, the suggestion accuses you. You must be naive. You must be complicit. You must not understand the data. But listen, nobody by taking thought can contact God, and God isn't mind. So no amount of mind proving, fear proving, or doom proving can bring you into truth. The universal belief seeks your reaction because reaction is its only oxygen. Withdraw your reaction, and the belief has nothing to breathe. How does it work? The belief throws a picture on the screen of consciousness melting ice, burning hills, starving creatures, future children pleading with your conscience, and then it insists, with a scene like this, any sane person must panic, but sanity in spirit is otherwise. Perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. Fear torments, love casts it out. Therefore, fear cannot be a form of love. Hatred has no intelligence. It cannot engineer solutions. It only multiplies heat. Doom has no mandate. It is not ordained by the law of God. There is only one power. If there is only one power, then where does this doom derive its authority? From suggestion? From universal belief? From the hypnosis of appearances? Not from law. We must say it plainly. Collective dread has no law. It has momentum, yes. It has habits. It has a loud voice and a large audience. But it has no legislator in spirit. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. A weapon forms in thought before it forms in steel. And dread is such a weapon, but it cannot prosper where it meets a consciousness that recognizes it for what it is. Not a decree, not a destiny, only a broadcast. On the whole, humanity is tuned to that station. And so it seems universal, all right? But universality of superstition does not make it law. Once you tune another way, the program fades. Make it practical. When the swell rises tomorrow at the sight of another map, do not personalize the swell. Do not say, my fear, my weakness, my failure to care. Say quietly now, this is not mine. This is a universal belief playing its old record with new lyrics. It has no law. It has no mind to think itself into my sanctuary. There is only one power. Then be still a split second. Yes, a split second. Let the click come where the argument stops and the presence is simply present. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Kingdom is not hysteria. Kingdom is order. From that order, a clean step will appear. Do not argue with errors. Any century you choose can supply you a costume for panic. Comets and calendars, shortages and surges, plagues and predictions. Today's headlines are, yesterday's anxieties rewritten, tomorrow's will be today's in fresh type, but the method of freedom is timeless. Recognize the impersonal pressure, refuse it the dignity of law, return to the inner room and make contact before you move a muscle. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. If the earth is the Lord's, then the earth's healing is not accomplished by fear's commandments, nor by hatred's cleverness, nor by doom's arithmetic. It is accomplished as men and women stand so still in the one that their action carries the fragrance of that stillness. You are not asked to pretend there is no storm. You are asked to refuse the storm's jurisdiction over your peace. You are not commanded to feel cheerful about appearances. You are commanded to stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free. Stand fast from the tyranny of collective dread. Call it by its name, universal belief, and watch what happens to its size. When you stop calling it law, it shrinks. It loses the tone of ultimatum. It becomes a reported condition awaiting governance. And governance arrives when you consent to be governed by the presence, not by the panic. Then your caring ceases to be fuel for the fire and becomes water for the root. Then your deeds cease to be the children of dread and become the instruments of a peace that quietly sets things in order. Now we must say what startles the religious mind and offends the intellectual vanity equally. Nobody, by taking thought, can contact God. You may gather facts until your shelves bow. You may memorize arguments until your tongue is nimble. You may string graphs like rosary beads and chant their sorrows day and night. Do you see? And yet the panic remains, perhaps cleverer, perhaps better dressed, but still torment. Take no thought for the morrow, the Master said. He did not command ignorance. He freed you from the superstition that better thoughts will deliver you. God isn't mind. Therefore, thinking harder is only deepening the trance when the subject is God. We have built, in our age, a substitute religion with its own commandments. Thou shalt be saved by perfect information. Thou shalt be justified by perfect outrage. Thou shalt be sanctified by perfect guilt. And all day the priests of this temple feeds and pundits in curated remorse declare the sacraments, read more, rage more, repent more, and at last you will be permitted a minute of uneasy sleep. That is not salvation, that is hypnosis. The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, neither can he know them. The mind that believes itself to be God cannot receive God. It can only posture, compute, and promise you relief tomorrow if you will think still harder today. All right, let us take the knife to the idol. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. Nobody knows what God is. Do you see that? The attempt to wrap the infinite in a definition is the ancient sin of control. We say, if I can name it, I can keep it. If I can keep it, I can use it. But the wind bloweth where it listeth. So is every one that is born of the Spirit. You cannot possess God as a concept, nor can you produce peace by arranging your thoughts into a fortress. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Lean not, there it is, not even on your best, most ethical, most data-driven understanding. Because peace is not the product of your conclusions. Peace is the gift of presence, and presence arrives where thought is not demanding to be king. You say, but if I do not figure this all out, how can I be at peace? Listen, that demand is the panic. It is the serpent saying, earn your Eden. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Not as the world, meaning not as thought bargains. If this, then that. If I achieve certainty, then I may rest. No. The order is reversed in spirit. First the rest, then the clarity. First the silence, then the step. First be still and know that I am God. Then whatever human wisdom is needed will be added unto you. So practice this holy reversal. When the compulsion rises to scroll, to calculate, to shout the latest proof of doom to yourself and to your neighbor, stop fasting now, not from food, but from the sacrament of overthinking. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting, fasting from the worship of mind. Prayer is a return to contact. Sit a moment and let the machinery wind down. Forget all the truth you ever knew. Yes, even your favorite scriptures as arguments, and wait for the click. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Not in conceptual victory. Quietness, the absence of mental coercion. Confidence, the sense of presence that needs no witness. Do not fear that you will become careless. Fear rather that you will remain clever without contact. The earth is not helped by our agitation. It is steadied by our abiding. Panic is not ended by superior thinking. It ends when mind steps down from its counterfeit throne and you turn wordlessly, humbly into God contact. Then, and not before, let the mind resume its proper work as a servant, organizing the step given, clarifying the word received, building what the peace has already designed. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Let it rule, and as it rules, you will discover a paradox your age cannot compute. The less you worship mind, the clearer your way. The less you strive to figure it all out, the more exact your next step. And the storm, having lost your reaction as fuel, begins quietly, lawfully to lose its claim upon your day. Now, there must come before the post, before the phone call, before the meeting, a split second of silence. Not a minute, necessarily. Not a vigil, necessarily. It may be no more than the span of a breath in which you do not indulge the surge. In that interval, you are not earning peace by piety. You are withdrawing consent from fear's authority. Be still and know that I am God. Do you see the order? Be still first. The knowing comes in the stillness, not in the argument. Let us be clear what this silence is not. It is not resignation. It is not passivity. It is not denial dressed in religious tone. It is not closing your eyes to the report. It is closing your door to fear's jurisdiction. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. Shut the door on reaction, on the mind's rush to fix, to prove, to punish, to save by nerves. In that hush, you are not abandoning care. You are purifying it. You are acknowledging if there is only one power, then nothing is required of me but yielding to that power before I move a muscle. How then? A simple inner movement. When the tremor rises, yes, even while you are standing in a hallway or waiting at a light, say within yourself, peace, be still. Say it not to the sea outside, but to the sea within. Do not add a speech. Do not export your fear into a plan. Give God the courtesy of silence. Wait not long, just honest, until that faint shift, that click, appears. It may come as a soft weight behind the heart, or as a spaciousness where a pressure was, or as the sudden ease that says, the world is not on my shoulders. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. That is the sign. The burden has moved. The yoke is easy again. The heat is out of your hands. In that instant, identity changes. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Christ is the only identity. You are not a frightened mortal trying to hold the planet together by nerves. You are a transparency through which principle acts. The branch does not strain to hold the tree. It abides in the vine. In him we live and move and have our being. Therefore, the movement that follows is not self-rescue. It is Christ expression. You see how the middle path begins here. Reaction stops, and God contact becomes the basis for action. Now someone says, but things are urgent. Martha said that too. Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things, but one thing is needful. One thing is needful before all useful things, the stillness that acknowledges presence. From that one thing, the many things arrange themselves, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but always without the smoke of your panic. You will still write, still plant, still negotiate, still design, only now you will not worship the results, nor fear the oppositions, nor hate the faces. You will neither fear, love, nor hate the appearance. You will stand in the awareness that, lo, I am with you always, and the presence with you will flavor what you do. Test it. Before you send the letter, pause for the split second and let the click come. Before you answer the provocation, pause for the split second and let the click come. Before you calculate the future, pause for the split second and let the click come. You are training the soul to govern the scene. You are refusing to enter the case humanly. And as you do, you will discover that action born of that click carries an intelligence your mind could not assemble, and a kindness your fear could not imagine. By their fruits ye shall know them. The fruit will be quiet clarity, steady courage, patience that does not sap strength, and a clean effectiveness that leaves no aftertaste of shame or superiority. So, let us make this our discipline. Contact before action. A split second is enough if it is honest. The storm outside may not obey you, but the Christ within does not need its obedience to keep you steady. And in that steadiness, the next step appears not as compulsion, but as obedience to the one who acts through you. Now we come to the motion of the hands. Clean action is action without the smoke of terror, hatred, or the drive to prove yourself righteous by an outcome. Clean action is born of the click of contact. It carries no aftertaste of superiority. It leaves no ache of self-congratulation. It does not need applause to keep breathing. Let all your things be done with charity. Do you see? Charity is not a mood. It is the atmosphere of God contact translated into deed. If the atmosphere is not peace, if the tone is not gentleness, if the yoke is not easy, it is not yet clean, however noble the banner. Reactive action follows a simple corruption pattern. Panic seeks immediate proof. It wants results today, credit by evening, and enemies to blame at dawn. It becomes harsh in speech, shaming friends, scolding strangers, policing motives. It grows compulsive, endless refresh, endless pledges, endless vows, until the nerves fray and the spirit sours. Then it burns out, and after the burn, it often hardens into cynicism. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Wrath imagines itself as fuel. It is only fire in the engine room that leaves the vessel dead in the water. All right? Responsibility is not abandoned. You may recycle, vote, invent, conserve, teach, build, by all means build. Only do not make these your God, your priest, or your measure of worth. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Seek first the atmosphere, then act. When you let a deed measure your value, you will whip yourself and others to keep that value high, and that lash will turn even good work into bondage. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. If the yoke is not easy, the burden not light, you have left the middle path and are serving a second master. Here is your practical check. If your action requires an enemy to stay motivated, it is not clean. If you must secretly hate a face, mock a neighbor, or fear a rival to keep your courage up, your action is running on borrowed fire. Stop. Return to the inner room. Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you, that ye may be the children of your Father. You need not agree. You must not adore. But you also may not require an enemy as your sacrament. The middle path neither fears, loves, nor hates any appearance. From there, you can correct without contempt, resist without rage, and build without boasting. A student wrote from a city council where tempers flared and accusations flew. One week she answered fire with fire, eloquent, fact-rich, and furious, and won a vote that cost the cooperation of 3 departments for months. The next week, she fasted from the outrage feed, entered the meeting from silence, and spoke almost half as much. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. The abundance was different. The same proposal passed with quiet amendments, and the very colleagues who had scoffed became co-laborers. By their fruits, you know the tree. The fruit this time tasted of peace, and because it did, it kept. So try this measure before you move. Ask, what atmosphere is pushing me? If it is hurry, fear, or the itch to dominate, sit down, wait for the click, then ask, can this step stand if no one knows I did it? Can I bless without needing to be believed? Can I serve without scripting the ending? If yes, move. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith. Fruit, not fumes. Action born of peace grows fruit. Action born of panic emits fumes that choke the room. Action is trustworthy only when it is born of peace. Panic-driven action multiplies the very discord it longs to heal. Let the peace of God rule in your heart. Let it be the governor, the guardrail, the green light. Then write, plant, negotiate, design freely now, without worshiping the result, without fearing the opposition, without hating the face. Clean action is not less. It is more durable, more persuasive, more obedient to the one power that never needs your panic to set a thing in order. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. From that gift, let your hands move. Now let us hear the word that silences storms. Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. When the disciples saw a figure upon the waters, they cried out. They were professionals of the sea, yet the sight shook them. All right? Bring it home. Data rises like waves. Headlines shout like wind. Sirens of prediction howl through your night, do you see? And your inner fisherman cries out. But the voice that answers is not a theory and not a better plan. It is presence. It is I. This is not the personality of Jesus in history only. This is the Christ, the I of your own being announcing itself at the edge of your panic. The storm is the appearance. Christ's presence is the law of harmony within consciousness. Therefore, fear is not your admission ticket to wisdom. Fear is only fog. We are not commanded to deny the weather. We are empowered to meet it without becoming it. Why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? Faith is shown by your reaction. Do you see that? The measure is not whether the wind drops in 10 minutes, but whether you can see the wind without bowing to its jurisdiction. Peace, be still, the master said to the sea outside. And we must first say it to the sea within. Say it not as magic. Say it as recognition. The presence that says it is I is the same that keeps covenant with your breath. When consciousness knows the presence, the picture loses its ultimatum even while it rages. Translate it for the day's hour. You open the feed and the wave rises. Do not argue with the wave. Do not compose a sermon to rebuke the weather. Do not bargain. If I worry enough, perhaps I will be safe. No, it is I. Whisper it within. Not I, small self. I, the infinite individuality that lives your life. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. You are not earning courage by strain. You are recognizing companionship that does not leave. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned. You may smell the smoke of the age, but the flame shall not consume your peace, because peace is not a mood. Peace is the sign of jurisdiction, returned to the one. A mother wrote from a day of ash in the sky and sirens at noon. Her boy asked, are we safe? She felt the surge. Every map she had ever read rose to accuse her. All right. She sat at the kitchen table, shut the door of her thought a moment, and consented, "It is I." The pressure broke. She did not deny the smoke. She denied its lordship over her tone. They packed with steadiness. They checked on a neighbor, and they left without a single angry word to the faceless adversaries her fear had wanted to curse. "Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies." A table of order in the presence of panic, not after panic disappears, but in its presence. This is the mark of Christ with us. Hear me. The words "be not afraid" are not a scolding. They are a disclosure. Fear is unnecessary because presence is actual. The I that speaks is not a concept of God you carry. It is the living fact announcing itself in your awareness. Nobody by taking thought can manufacture this, but anyone by a split second of silence can notice it. And the proof will not be in what the weather does in the next hour. The proof will be the change of atmosphere within you while the image still shouts. Calm perception in the midst of alarming images. This is faith measured, not boasted. Never enter the case humanly. Do not wrestle with waves. Recognize the I. Do not take sides with panic or with denial. Stand with principle. There is only one power. As that fact becomes the air of your inner room, the eyes clear and the hand moves rightly. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Shadow does not govern the one who knows the sun. So let the storm be what it is, an appearance. Let the I be what it is, presence. And in that knowing, you will discover the quiet miracle. You can see the storm without fear. And because you do not become the storm, you become the transparency through which order quietly, lawfully, begins to appear. Now, do not look at your demonstration day by day. That is the old habit, the tyranny of appearance, the weather vaning of your soul by today's gust. Return to the orchard. When you plant, you do not tug the root at sunrise and accuse the branch at noon. First the blade, then the ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. You see, maturity is the law of fruit. Panic is not. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it. Long patience, not long agitation. The farmer guards the tree, waters, prunes, and then this is the discipline, refuses to judge the harvest by the shadow on a single afternoon. Bring it to our hour. Climate despair often hides an ancient demand. I must see change now, or I am not safe, not good, not faithful. That demand is fear asking to be enthroned. As God, do not bow. Judge nothing before the time. Your job is contact and obedience. The calendar of outcomes is not yours. You will act, you will build, you will conserve, you will organize, but you will not measure your spiritual stature by this week's graph, nor by the daily temperature of public fervor. Let maturity bring to light. When you demand instant visibility, you are not serving order. You are soothing nerves, and nerves make poor architects. Consider Saul of Tarsus. He met a light brighter than his righteousness, and then 9 years before he went out. 9 years. Arabia, quiet towns, hidden prayer, reinterpretation of everything he thought he knew. On the outside, silence. On the inside, fermentation unto wine. Was that failure? No, that was root work. If the apostle needed seasons of inward ripening before his outward mission, do you think your cause, your calling, will be harmed by patience. Let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Perfect work is not rushed work. There is a violence we can do to good by forcing it to perform on our timetable. That violence dries the limb, and then we blame the orchard. All right? Someone says, if I stop checking the storm every hour, won't I become careless? No. If you have made the contact and are living in the middle path, care is not abandoned, it is stabilized. The husbandman does his sane duties, whether the neighbor applauds or jeers, whether the sky threatens or smiles. He does not hold a revival meeting for the sap. He tends the root. So with you, tend the root. Silence each morning. Yes, even that split second of honest hush before the tools. Clean steps is given, gentle persistence. Then refuse the tyranny of the headline as your spiritual weather. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength, not in fluctuation. Confidence is not denial. It is freedom from the lash of daily verdicts. I had a letter from a young engineer who woke each dawn to dashboards of doom and slept each night with a clamor of comment. He fasted not from labor, but from the compulsion to be spiritually graded by every feed. He wrote, I still build, but the building is no longer a bargaining chip for peace. Peace leads. The project follows. And he found, slowly, that the conversations once full of heat grew receptive. The designs once hurried grew precise. In due season we shall reap, if we faint not. Due season, do you see that? Not your season by decree, due season by law. Do not mistake delay for absence or quiet for apathy. The kingdom's growth is seeded in silences the newspapers cannot measure. The kingdom of God is as if a man should cast seed into the ground, and should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring and grow up. He knoweth not how. He knoweth not how. That is our liberation from the hypnosis of control. You know not how, nor when, nor through whom the next right linkage appears. You do know the atmosphere require peace, steadiness, refusal to fear, love, or hate the appearance. From that atmosphere, you do the next sane thing, and then you sleep. Yes, sleep. Rest is not betrayal. It is trust that the one power does not clock in only when you pace. So adopt this practice. Stop judging the world and yourself day by day. Withdraw your permission from the scale that weighs your worth by this morning's index. Stand with principle and let time serve truth, not panic. Tend your tree, water, prune, guard, and abstain from tugging. If fruit tarries, let it tarry. When it comes, it will come with sweetness and seed for more. To everything there is a season. Let God have its perfect work. And as you cease demanding proofs on your schedule, you will notice a strange ease. Your steps grow exact, your speech kind, your courage quiet, and the orchard, under laws not authored by fear, begins to show what was at work all along. Maturity, not panic, brings fruit. Keep to the middle path and let maturity bring to light. Now there are times when, even with all this, the knot does not yield. You have seen the storm and not become it. You have waited for the click. You have acted cleanly, and yet an undercurrent of dread returns at dawn and demands its ration. All right? Do not be ashamed of that. Recognize it for what it often is. Not your private failure, but a thicker weave of universal belief-seeking energy. And some beliefs, hear me, do not go out with more words, more facts, or more splendid arguments. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Not more thought, fasting, not louder prayer, deeper prayer. That is silence yielding to presence. Do not stumble over the word. Fasting in this hour is not a contest of bread. It is the deliberate withdrawal from the diet that keeps fear strong. Outrage loops, doom feeds, compulsive persuasion. You know their taste. The hand wakes before the heart, and already the thumb kneels at the altar of updates, and by coffee you have participated in 10 quarrels and 3 apocalypses. That is not information. That is incense burned to a false god. We are not making a moral show of abstinence. We are reclaiming jurisdiction. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Returning where? Into the inner room where the one power is acknowledged and the many noises cannot recruit you by reflex. Let me be exact, because this is a capstone practice. First, set a boundary. Decide for a day, 3 days, 7, if the demand is deep, that you will not take your meals at the table of alarm. Turn off the horns, alerts, pings, banners. Remove for a season the very portals whose purpose has ceased to be service and has become stimulation. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Keep the door of your eyes and ears too. Keep the door of your feed. Not forever, for a consecrated interval. Second, fast from compulsion to convince. You are not the Holy Ghost of your circle. Withdraw the pressure from your spouse, your colleagues, your nameless adversaries online. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles. Stop pouring your fresh contact into the brittle skins of argument. Let the wine ferment in silence until it becomes speech worth hearing. Third, enter the closet. Yes, several times a day, for moments, not marathons. Close the door of senses and say nothing spiritual to start. Forget all the truth you ever knew. Wait, a breath, another, be still and know that I am God. Not you are God, I am God. Let the mind's machinery spin down without you oiling it. If thoughts parade their statistics, do not wrestle, do not applaud. Let them pass as weather beyond the pain. You are not bargaining for a feeling. You are consenting to a fact. There is only one power. When the click comes, when the weight shifts behind the heart or the space opens within the chest, then, and not before, offer a simple prayer without words, gratitude that needs no speech. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. See it where? First, in the flavor of your own breath. Fourth, from that click, do the next same thing trivialized by panic. Wash a cup without hurry. Answer one message with kindness and no edge. Take the walk you have postponed. You are retraining the nervous system to serve soul. You are weaning yourself from drama as a drug. And if, in the middle, the itch returns, reach for the pocket, feel the absence of the app, and smile. That absence is not loss. It is Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Your fast is not a law's tyranny. It is a grace's provision. A student wrote after trying this 3-day fast. The first day, she said, I could hear the phantom ring. It haunted my fingers. By noon of the second, a quiet I did not manufacture settled, not indifference capacity. She visited an elderly neighbor she had avoided because the conversations meandered. They meandered again, but this time her attention did not grind its teeth. A practical need surfaced. She met it without fanfare. By their fruits ye shall know them. The fruit was gentleness and exactness where Hurry had been king. When she returned to the stream later, the hook was gone. She could sip without drowning. A universal belief had lost its private altar. Do you see the purpose now? Not moral superiority freedom. Freedom from the renewing station of fear. Freedom from the nervous sacraments of our age. We are not hiding from the world. We are refusing to let the world appoint itself our God. We will re-enter the conversation. Only we will do so from the middle path, neither fearing, loving, nor hating appearances. And if the stubborn kind knocks again, do not be proud. Go quietly back to the fast. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting, not by more dazzling posts, nor by clever refutations, nor by the crusade to make all your friends see as you see by prayer and fasting. Withdraw the fuel, return to contact, and let God have its perfect work. Then, and only then, whatever action is given you will be clean, patient, and steady, an instrument of divine order rather than a trumpet of alarm. Now we bring this home to our tables, our meetings, our streets. If the principle has any meaning, it must breathe in the ordinary hours. Begin here. Refuse to make your family and friends a case. Never enter the case humanly. Do not sit at the supper table as a prosecuting attorney arranging facts to save the world by nerves. Speak without heat. Listen without contempt. A soft answer turneth away wrath. The soft answer is not weakness. It is evidence that you are standing in the middle path where there are no idols to defend. When the familiar debate rises, and it will, you do not tighten your jaw and aim to win a convert. You rest in the quiet recognition that Christ is the only identity, yours and theirs. Your words, few or many, rise from that recognition, or they do not rise at all. All right? In the boardroom or the council or the chat thread, the same law holds principle over parties. You are not dealing with a good side and a bad side, nor even the side that hired you. You are watching for the emergence of spiritual good. If you feel the itch to secure agreement as your sacrament, stop. Agreement is not your God. Agreement is one of the appearances that may or may not accompany the activity of spirit, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Your task is not to overpower a neighbor's mind. God isn't mind, and mind worship cannot yield peace. Your task is to witness spiritual activity and to be available as its instrument. Whether others see it as you see it is not your burden. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Holding your peace is not silence of cowardice. It is jurisdiction reclaimed. Let me put the latter plainly so you can carry it in your pocket. First, recognize the appearance as appearance. Name it without bowing to it. Second, refuse reaction, neither fear, love, nor hate the picture. Third, take no sides with personalities. Stand with principle. Fourth, identify the universal belief at work, contagion of fear, inevitability of doom, and deny it law. Fifth, enter the split second of silence until the click comes. Forget all the truth you think you know and touch presence. Sixth, act cleanly, without heat, without enemy, without the lash of hurry. Seventh, trust timing. Do not judge your demonstration day by day. This is the way. Walk in it. If the knot holds still, return to the fast from outrage and persuasion until the nervous sacraments lose their altar. Now, how does this look in the hour a decision must be made? You meet with your team, data's on the table, anxieties are thick. You ask within, peace, be still, and you wait one breath for the yoke to lighten. You speak only what can be spoken without heat. You refuse to bait an adversary for motivation. You grant to each voice its dignity without enthroning any voice as your law. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Let it rule be the umpire saying safe or out to your words before they leave your mouth. If a course is given, you take it. If delay is given, you honor it. You withdraw the demand to be understood now and surrender the need to see praise today. You move from obedience, not from optics. Do the same with the one you love, who does not share your urgency. Do not convert them. Bless them. If the only way you can love is by winning the point, that is not love. That is insecurity, investments. Charity suffereth long and is kind, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked. Seek not your own triumph. Seek the emergence of peace. And if separation of a conversation is required for a season, sometimes the separation is very spiritual, let's have it, but without malice, without theater. You are not judging their soul by a post. You are guarding the orchard from a frost of heat. Hear the close of it now. The world is best served by a consciousness that has stopped reacting. When reaction ceases, action becomes an instrument of divine order. Blessed are the peacemakers, not the appeasers, not the avoiders, the peacemakers, those whose inner climate permits God to do what God does without the smoke of our panic. So stand in the middle path. Refuse to fear, love, or hate any appearance. Enter the silence until the click. Act out of peace. Trust the seasons and let God have its perfect work. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Not my will to win, not my will to be seen, but thy will to be revealed as order in this hour. Let Christ's will be done, and let Christ be the only identity you recognize in your brother, your critic, your own face in the mirror. Then, and only then, the hands you extend will carry no hidden fire. They will carry the quiet government of peace. My friends, be still and know. Walk out of this room as the transparency of that knowing. Let God deal with the appearances, and let your service be steady, gentle, exact fruit, not fumes, until by their fruits all shall know the root.